Okay, so I kind of noticed something last night when I was doing those videos, converting nanite static into like just regular static meshes and reducing the polygons and stuff like that. And like, so I'm just gonna show you where there was an issue again, and why I'm doing a follow-up video. And something I didn't really notice until I was doing the videos, and then I almost had like a nightmare about this, and was like, because I really hate putting out incorrect information, I had to come back and try this. So I re-imported this concrete barrier. I changed the triangles back to 1260 like I did in the last video, which is kind of our minimum. We can see a little pinching there. And then I exported that like I did with the skeletal meshes, and then brought that back in so that it is now like a baked one-to-one, it is 1260. So when you look at the wireframe for it, you can see that this one is reduced right out of the gate. So that's this one. This mesh beside it is a geometry collection that I made from this new one. And it's the exact same. It's just one single, open it up, fracture it once. This is the old one. So like if I go to the import here, this is the one that I just straight up converted from the nanite to the non-nanite and then reduced the polygon. So this is the version that I used yesterday basically to make this, which is the geometry collection from that barrier. Now the thing is it's similar to, it seems like when you create a skeletal mesh, when you do that, like when you just right click on this and say create skeletal mesh or convert skeletal mesh, this is with that skeletal mesh plugin. That seems to take the same unedited data, because whatever this is a non-destructive process, right? So when you do that, it doesn't seem to take that information. It takes the original information. So this thing will have 40,000 triangles, although it came from something that had 1260. Whereas this thing will have the proper fracture geometry and the proper amount of triangles. So it's sort of like undid my work when I converted it to a geometry collection, as well as the rendering is going to be worse, like because there's so many triangles involved. So what does this look like? I mean, it's really obvious when you actually see it. Look at the wireframe differences here. So like, again, this is that new import. This is the fracture from it. And it looks like you would expect for a basic fracture. This is the old mesh right here that had the reduced triangles. And then this is the geometry collection that got made from that. So you can see that the geometry just gets out of hand right now. And it doesn't actually provide any benefit because the fracturing is still going to do the same job, right? So it's just the external geometry that just got infinitely more complex for no actual benefit. So I wanted to redo this video because obviously now part of the workflow has to be whenever you reduce the triangles on anything, if you want to actually have that in a baked format that you can use for geometry collections or creating skeletal meshes or whatever, you're going to have to export it from the engine and re-import it back in. And that's kind of a careful process because you're either going to have to keep your non-destructive version laying around so that if there's a mistake made, you can rebake that. Or what I would recommend doing is sort of doing this whole baking process inside of a sub-project, like where the assets originally are located, finding your happy medium and exporting it from there, and then just using your asset from there and having your originals in a sub-project, because then you're not going to be uploading a ton of assets to your source control or whatever else, because having, this project alone that it's based on or whatever, these assets come from a 20 gigabyte pack. And that's just one map asset pack. So if I had multiple of those in my Perforce arbitrarily, it just doesn't make sense. It makes far more sense to properly reduce them in a sub project, import them, do the fracturing, make sure it looks good, double check everything, because even I made this mistake and I don't know how I didn't realize, but when I was watching the videos, I was like, wait a second, like that doesn't look right. So I made sure to come back and make this follow up. So yeah, I hope this helps everybody. And I wish I would have included this in the original videos, but I mean, everybody makes mistakes, right? So